Hey guys, hope all is well, man. I'm here with Commissioner Craig Pierce. I'll let some of you guys come on before we get started. Um, Hey, if you guys are out there driving tonight, make sure that you're safe. Actually, I ran over a couple um, puddles of water that were deeper than normal, so almost took my steering wheel by surprise. So definitely make sure that you're careful out there. I always kind of give shout outs to the people that support me. As you can see, the shirt, Dr. Yolanda Mead Bird. Equity will change all the rules. If you need a customized shirt, talk to Dr. Yolanda Mead Bird. She's over in, I think she's in India. She's got a group of students from Winston-Salem State over in India doing a social work program, but she can help you. Got my hat, Kirk Huffman. I think it's, was it Blood and Blades or Poison and Blades? He's a gospel hip hop artist. He got the greater than sign, so I appreciate all the support. Ruth Long, Faith Alexander, Cammie Sifford, Mike Sexton. Waiting for a couple more people to join in so we can talk about Rowan County politics. Craig, I really appreciate the invite into your home, man. And
you're welcome anytime, you know that.
Absolutely, and it's always great to be amongst good company. So, hey, Josh, how you doing, Josh? Hope all is well with you. But we'll get right into things in here in just a sec. If you can hear me, give me the thumbs up. I think you can, but I just want to make sure that before we move forward, all the audio is on point. So if you can hear me, give me the thumbs up sign. I know it's a delayed reaction, but we're still here waiting. Got a thumbs up? That's absolutely awesome. So, let's see here. Doug Parrish, what's going on, Doug? Hope all is well down there in that metropolis that you reside in. So, for you guys, last week I had the opportunity to interview Kenny Harden. It's kind of a recap of what took place, City Council, and he's doing well. Pierce, man, the next chairman. Absolutely, Doug. That's what we're trying to get toward. But yeah, Kenny did a recap on City Council, politics, and things of that nature, man. It was a great interview. Just wanted to bring him back out so that people don't think that he's somewhere dying or something, but he's in great spirits, spent a lot of time with his family. So it was great to have him. So anyway, seems like we got it popping a little bit tonight. So Mr. Pierce, man, got Commissioner Pierce here. A great advocate here for Rowan County. As you guys know, he's seeking an election for the 2018?
2018.
2018, which the primaries are?
Well, the early voting starts April 20th.
April 20th.
And then the last day of the primary is May the 8th. And early voting will be at the West End Plaza, South Rowan Library, and in Rockwell, it's at the AMVETS.
At the AMVETS. Okay. All right. So you guys make sure you have those dates, and we need to get out and cast our votes and make this thing move forward. So the last time I interviewed Craig, he laid out some of the agenda items that he had what he wants to put in place for Rowan County politics, and to show his transparency, he told me to reach out to anyone who wanted to ask him any questions. To send them via inbox to my Facebook inbox. And we had a lot of them who sent their questions. So if we don't get to your questions this time, we'll get to it next time, but we got a lot of questions. And so we'll have a 30-minute segment before I think Facebook Live shuts me off. So anyway, we'll go ahead and dig right into this thing.
Okay. Let's go.
So your first question was, what are your plans for the West End Plaza, and why has nothing been done for the past 2 years to improve use for the county?
Okay, let's take it backwards. I'll tell you why nothing's been done, and then I'll tell you what should have been done during that period of time. It would not be fair to say nothing has been done because we did put the Board of Elections and we did put veteran service out there. But all those plans, all the bids and all that were already done before the board changed hands last time. But the first order of business when the new board took place was they canceled every contract that was already in place, costing the county $61,000 in penalties because the materials had already been ordered. They were scheduled to start work. The only reason I can think that happened was just to show me and Mike Caskey who was really in charge on the board. But since that time, we have been able to accomplish putting a roof on the entire structure so that whenever we do start back on doing the upfits, it'll be structurally ready for anything we want to do. Now, back to your original first part of the question. The full intentions when it was purchased, the business model was to use the retail section as a business incubator for small businesses that were trying to get started and needed a great place to set up shop and to be able to have good parking, safety, and have a viable business center on the west end of the county, or the city in this case, because there's never been one since the old mall closed. Well, that wasn't the thinking of the majority of the board, so they immediately said that we will not issue any leases to any businesses at the west end, which has cost us over the past 3.5 years probably $500,000 in potential revenues.
Wow.
Now, the intent when it was purchased was to put DSS in the Belks building, to put the health department in the J.C. Penney's building, allowing us, once that retrofit was done, to move the sheriff's department out of downtown and put it into the current DSS building, and allow us to take probation and put them in the current health department, which allows us to quit paying $120,000 a year in lease payments for probation to be situated there on Carr Street. By doing that, it would free up space inside the courthouse, allowing it to extend its life a minimum of 25 years. So the premise of we want to take everybody from downtown is not correct. The premise was to extend the life of the current structures that we have that are located downtown, but to also give our citizens a more easier accessible way for the public sectors that they need, like DSS and health. By moving the sheriff's department out there, it also allows us to take the magistrate's office, which is located across the street in an old barbecue center, and move it into the interior of the existing courthouse, making it much safer for prisoner transfers. But anyway, that didn't happen because the majority of the sitting board, in their infinite wisdom, decided that was not what they wanted to do. They wanted to start a Rowan Idea Center out there, which will never produce $1 worth of revenue, and basically give 140,000 square feet away to Catawba and Livingstone College, which I don't have a problem helping the educational people. But why are we giving away half the space that we have when we have a desperate need for these county offices to expand and relocate? Let's take care of the citizens, the people that paid for that first. Then if we've got space left over, then we can develop a plan to let that be used by those people that can benefit from it.
Right. And, you know, Craig, the thing is, I'm not opposed to anything downtown. You know, I frequent the smoke shop often, the Perfect Smoke. I'm a member there. The eateries downtown I take a part of. However, I live on the western end of the county, you know, northwestern end of the county. So the thing is, for me is, you know, the West End Plaza would be accessible. And so if there was life in the West End Plaza, I'm sure eateries come as well, other business ideas and incubators and things of that nature, where I don't have to go all the way into Salisbury to service my need.
Well, before the current majority of the board decided not to do any leases, we literally had 2 or 3 phone calls per week wanting to lease space out there. And mainly it was small businesses, for example, like Thelma's, that were trying to expand and grow. Thelma goes from 3 employees to 26. She goes from 1 location to 3 locations. That's the idea behind a business incubator, is to grow a small business. But when you shut the door and say you can't come in, are we really doing what's best with taxpayer dollars? Because we're losing revenues and we're not letting our current economic programs grow, because for some reason they got a different idea. I don't know what's behind them not wanting to develop that area out there, other than just to show that the current commissioners that aren't on board who's in charge.
Wow. Okay. Well, once again, guys, I advocate the West End Plaza because I live near there, and so do other Western residents. Yeah, Western residents. So it'll be easier transition for me to, you know, from my home to there. So Anyway, I keep hearing from your current board that the water and sewer project may be too expensive. What is your response?
I can't believe anybody is that short-sighted, especially after we had a presentation from a developer from Louisiana that I've been talking to for the last 6 years that laid the plan out for me to come and bring economic development into the southern part of the county once that infrastructure is in place to the tune of $750 million. In other words, $750 million, and they're worried about spending $18 million to bring that here. I just can't fathom anybody that's that short-sighted. I mean, to me, there should not be anything other than mash the pedal to the floor and let's get this done.
Right. And you know, the thing is, I work in Kannapolis, so I understand growth because I'm seeing it every day.
You see it.
And so, you know, and I said last time, one of the city councilmen, you know, I asked him and I are pretty good friends, and he said, Chris, without water and sewer, we couldn't have gotten this done. And so I understand, you know, being on the 85 corridor makes, I mean, it's a mint if we would take advantage of it in terms of water sewer. My question is, and, you know, I don't know if you know the answer, but why wasn't this a priority 50 years ago?
Well, let's talk about that. 1972, there was a bond referendum put on the ballot where the citizens of Rowan County were asked did they want to do countywide water and sewer. At the time, there was participation from the state through bonds, and it could have all been done for $5 million. I'm talking countywide. But the powers that be decided, no, we don't want to see that economic expansion. We want to keep everything right in Salisbury. We don't want things to grow, and it was voted down. Fast forward 60 years, and what you have now is the same thing. There's people that do not want to see the southern end of the county grow and prosper because they want to retain that control inside the city limits and keep everybody having to use Salisbury to be able to shop and do all the things that's happening. If you don't believe me, look down the interstate. You see anything? When you leave exit 76 headed toward Concord, there's nothing till you get to Lane Street in Kannapolis. There is nothing, and that's intentional.
Wow. The local newspaper, they seem to think that, you know, you're running midterm is illegal. Is this true?
Well, first of all, just to show you how ridiculous that is, the Board of Elections would not let me sign up if it was an illegal move. I mean, they're not going to let a candidate go onto the ballot unless he meets all the requirements. Is it untraditional? Absolutely it is. But with what we're dealing with water and sewer, I can't sit back and let this thing not happen because the future of this county is involved here. Now, they want to paint every negativity that they can about me because that's to their benefit to maintain the control mechanism that they have in place. But at the end of the day, what our citizens need to know is the truth about this particular election. Number one, I will be on the primary ballot on the Republican Party. Now, even my sister emailed me. She said, I like what you're doing, but I can't vote for you because I'm a registered independent. I said, you don't understand. If you're an independent or unaffiliated, depending on how you want to term it, you can go vote in the primary also. All you have to do is go in and request either a Democratic or a Republican ballot, and then you will be able to vote whichever one you want. So if you're not a registered Republican, you can still vote in the primary, and you can still select 3 candidates on whatever ballot that you want. Excuse me, the Democrats won't have one because they only had 2 people run for commission. But you can go in and request a Republican ballot and vote for 3 people that you feel represents your best interest on that ballot. And then when the tally comes through, whoever the 3 top people are on that ballot will move to the ballot for November.
Wow. And, you know, and the thing is, it's obvious. It's obvious the importance of what's taking place or what should be taking place is very important to you because you're trying to expedite that process in terms of, because you have 2 years remaining on your current.
And that's not enough to finish the program.
Right.
And you can see with all the rhetoric that's been in the Post and what's been, if you watched the county commission meeting, and especially if you were there when Carolyn Martin was making her presentation, you know, the board kept, you know, vacillating back and forth. Can we afford it? Can we afford it? We can afford to do whatever we want. This county is in the best credit situation it's ever been in its entire history. We can borrow, people don't realize, but we can borrow up to $500 million.
Wow.
Now, do I want to raise your taxes to pay for that? No. But an $18 million investment that yields a minimum of $500 million in return, what are we waiting on? I mean, I don't get it.
500 million, guys. What changes have you made for the county since being elected in 2012?
A lot. One of my biggest accomplishments that I will take credit for, because that was spearheaded by me, was animal services. We went from having a gas chamber to euthanize our animals to euthanation by injection was our first move. Once we made that move, a lady named Christine Mariquas reached out and said that she would like to donate a cat wing. So we went through those negotiations that took about 18 months of negotiations as well as construction. But when she was done, she wrote a check for $1.1 million to give us a state-of-the-art facility for the feline population. We're currently working with a group now that wants to do the same thing for the canine population. They want to make it an adoption center, which I think is just terrific. We've had rescue groups come in. We've had volunteers come in. We finally put together a volunteer program out at Animal Control. We took it away from being under the health department, made its own separate county department so that we could streamline the services and the decisions that we needed to make it a better service. Now, looking at where we were out of the number of animal control facilities throughout the state, we were in the bottom 3%. Today, we are number 3 in the state in the amount of animals that are adopted and the amount of animals that we don't euthanize. We actually went for a 6-month period and did not have to euthanize one adoptable animal at the shelter. I mean, when you start talking about taking in 5,000 animals annually and you're only having to euthanize literally a handful, and in a lot of cases, those are animals that come in injured or come in sick, or they're just not adoptable. And I'm not trying to be ugly, but for example, I get a dog that comes in, it's got 3 legs, it's missing an eye, and somebody's cut his tail off. You know, that's not the animal that you want to bring home to your children and say, here's your new pet. So, you know, some cases it's just inevitable. But I think, you know, I want to thank every one of the volunteers. I want to thank all of the rescue groups. And I want to thank our staff down there for the terrific job that they do. But none of that would have happened had we not started with saying we're going to address this problem that literally when I would go to a meeting, there would be people standing on the county office steps with picket signs wanting to know why we weren't doing something. Why are we killing the pets in a gas chamber instead of just giving them a euthanation by injection? And actually, euthanation by injection, once we checked into it, was less expensive.
Wow.
So that's one thing. Of course, the airport, I've been working on that even before I got elected. We've made some major changes at the airport. The biggest thing that we did, and this is what chapped a lot of the people in Salisbury, is we de-annexed the airport. During forced annexation, which is no longer available, thank goodness, they reached in and annexed the airport. But here's the funny part. They didn't annex the whole airport. They just annexed where the hangars were, where all the money was.
Right.
Out of the 8 years they had it, they collected over $1.2 million in revenues. And you know how much money they invested back? Not one penny. Wow. So the county was footing the bill. Salisbury was raking in the green. It also prohibited us from being competitive with our surrounding airports because it was being double taxed. You had county tax and city. Once we removed the city taxing, then all of a sudden the airport just took off. And it was all because it was just too expensive to be here. Now that is no longer the case. We've got 2 corporate hangars out there. One is full. The other one is got just enough space for probably 2 more aircraft. Each one of those hangars holds about $15 million worth of taxable aircraft. We just finished our new conference room out there and redid the terminal so that when people come here, they're looking at a state-of-the-art facility. It was kind of funny. They were talking about we might need to change the furniture that's in the lobby. When they flipped it over, the furniture was made in 1984. So it's not like we've dumped a lot of money into the facility out there other than maintaining proper safety and other things. For example, my second year on the board, we were able to receive a grant from the state, which allowed us to fence the entire property so that we could keep deer and wild turkey and all these things from running out on the air runway whenever people try to take off. So we've done an awful lot out there that's made us one of the premier, as I like to say, 5,000-foot runway airports in the state. So Novant just located their new $6 million helicopter out there for their emergency flight service. So we're doing all the right things. But none of that happened until I went to the commissioners when I was still chairman of the Airport Advisory Board and convinced them to build that first corporate hangar for jet aircraft. That's when it all took off.
Wow. I need the key to that helicopter if you
I don't have that. I don't want to be riding in that medic helicopter.
Oh, you got that right. Hey, here's a good question. I hear that Jim Sides is calling for a tax cut. What do you think about that? And I guess this question was sent before Jim actually signed up to run.
Well, what Jim's calling for is not a property tax cut. What he's asking for is to sunset a 1/4-cent sales tax that was implemented for emergency services and for the sheriff's department, basically to pay for the new jail we had to build, and also to pay for the radios that are now all linked together, all emergency services, all the sheriff's departments, all the fire stations, all the municipalities. They're all on the same frequency, so they can all intercommunicate with each other. Well, that's expensive because it's about it's 2,200 radios at about $400 a pop. So that's $8 million. Well, if you do away with that funding component, then all of a sudden you're looking at having to raise property tax to do the same thing. The thing I like about sales tax initiatives as opposed to property tax, anybody that comes into our county that buys gas, buys cigarettes, buys alcohol, buys whatever they want at the convenience store, they help fund that.
Right.
If it's property tax, then anybody that lives in a rental property, anybody that rides through here and doesn't pay taxes, property tax here, they receive the benefit from all those radios and that police protection in the jails, but they're not participating. So a sales tax basically is a consumption tax which allows everybody to participate equally.
Wow. Okay. I know in the past, I know you don't mind answering, but in the past, during your first election, when you first got on the county commissioner, everyone tried to associate you with Jim Sides in terms of, voting and things of that nature. But, it was kind of clear in some of your voting record that you guys kind of, were kind of different.
Well, what they really need to do is go back and look at the vote on the boards and show that 90% of what we did was a unanimous vote.
Right.
So to tie me strictly to Jim and say that we did everything in concert is just not true. Right. Now, don't get me wrong, Jim had a lot of good ideas. He championed de-annexing the airport. That was his idea. He went along with me when I said, let's purchase the Salisbury Mall. But what you need to look at is Chad Mitchell, Mike Caskey, and John Barber also went along. Right. So are you trying to say that Mike Caskey and Jim Sides are the same? Right. That's what you're actually doing. What they didn't like was the fact that I'm vocal about things. And I'm not afraid to tell people, look, you need to quit talking about what you don't like and let us do our job. And that's where a lot of that comes from.
Right.
Now, did Jim and I vote together? We voted as a board together. But Jim and I are 2 votes. We can't do anything on that board without a 3rd vote. So to paint me with that brush is really not a true representation of what went on while he was in office.
Gotcha. What is your opinion on the job? What is your opinion of the job the sheriff's department is doing about crime?
I think with the limited resources that we have available, I think the sheriff's department has done a stellar job trying to take care of this opioid situation and run a nice, clean county. He came to us and asked for some additional money to hire 6 new sheriff's officers dedicated to what they call the CREW, the Crime Reduction Unit, to specifically target gang members and the drug problem. That's innovation, and that came strictly from Kevin Hall. It didn't come from anybody else, and we did fund that. And if he asks for that funding again, as long as we have the issues that we do, absolutely, safety in our community is paramount. And we've got to do whatever we can to make our citizens safe on the streets, safe in their homes, and safe at work, and of course, the kids at school. But at the same time, we can't just keep throwing money away without any results. And, Kevin and his department has done terrific. Every time you read about a crime problem that involves drugs, it's 90% inside the city limits of Salisbury. It's not out in the county. Right. The only thing you read about is when Kevin goes out and busts about 40 people and rounds them up and brings them in and takes that down. So I can't say enough about the good work that the sheriff's department does.
Yeah, and Kevin has agreed to come on also at a later date, and we're going to talk with some about some of the gun issues in schools and things of that nature. So yeah, Kevin's a good friend. He's always been advocate for children. So I think we've got one of the best sheriffs that's ever come through Rowan County.
Well, just keep in mind, Kevin is running unopposed. Nobody, even on the other side, even want to put their name on the ballot.
Right.
So that says a lot.
Just a good guy all the way through. As a senior citizen, what are your plans for our population in the county?
Well, we're working on some things that goes right back to our developer that we talked about through some talks that we've had and negotiations. We're looking for her to possibly give us some land to build a satellite facility of Ruffey Homes down in the southern part of the county. And it will also be incorporated, we hope, with maybe Meals on Wheels and our food centers where we feed the adult population down in that area. And we definitely realize that as we move forward, there's going to be more and more seniors in this particular county simply because we have a very aging population. We have a lot of veterans that are moving here so that they can use the VA hospital facilities.
Right.
So that's going to be one of our major focuses is putting together programs and expanding what services we have for our seniors in the county. And we've got to do that. And I thank Ruffey Homes for wanting to be partners in that.
Wow. Good. Do you think the current Board of Commissioners has done a good job over the last term?
I think we've addressed some issues that needed to be addressed. Did we address all of them? No, we didn't. Could we have done a better job? Absolutely. Is that my fault? I don't think it is. I never had 3 votes to do anything. Basically, the only things that I ever got done was things that once I brought them to the board to put on the agenda, it's kind of like there ain't no way you can vote against it because it's such a good program. For example, the LEADS program for the Sheriff's Department. LEADS stands for Law Enforcement Academic Development Scholarship. We teamed up with Livingstone College for them to reduce their tuition rate, and the county stepped up and paid that reduced rate for anybody that had a 2-year degree working for law enforcement that wanted to go and get a 4-year degree. So they're basically going to college for free, and we did that so that we could retain those educated officers that work for us and to give them an incentive to improve their education so that they could be even better officers for us.
Wow. That's good stuff, man. Good collaboration, giving those young people an opportunity to actually matriculate right into the workforce. How does the Cube Hydro acquisition of land on High Rock help Rowan County?
I don't think that it does. Cube Hydro was purchased the lake, so to speak, from Alcoa, made a lot of promises that they have not kept, including improving the water intake down on Hannah Ferry Road for the city that was supposed to have been done already, and they haven't done anything. But that whole outfit is notorious for coming in, buying an asset, breaking it apart, and selling it off, or incorporating it with 2 or 3 other water systems and selling it as a whole and make their profit and walk away. So it's one of those kind of things, tell you whatever you want to hear to get you to do it, then we won't do anything till you sue us.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, like I said, I work in Kannapolis, man, but I know a lot of guys that have worked all their lives to have, mobile homes or little places on High Rock Lake. And when you come in and talking about, changing the atmosphere down there, that right there doesn't rub too well.
Look, property rights are property rights. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting on a gold mine or if I'm sitting on a septic tank. Whatever I got is mine, and every way I want to use it should be my prerogative, not somebody else's future profit-making opportunity. I mean, like I said, when I used to water ski down there when I was 15, 16 years old, the only thing at High Rock Lake was those pop-up campers and those mobile homes. Those were the people that kept Tamarack Marina alive because they'd go get their bread and their beer and their cigarettes and their fuel and everything else. And that's the only reason Tamarack has been able to survive all these years. Now, all of a sudden, because property values are higher at the lake, they're like, okay, we don't need you anymore. We're going to zone you out and bring other stuff in here that can make somebody some money. Well, that's not the way property rights work. I'll never vote to rezone that property down there as long as I'm on the board. Now, I can't make that statement about other people that's on the board, but I can promise you I won't do it.
Okay. And last closing, where do you see our county in the next 10 years?
we get water and sewer in the southern part of the county, you won't recognize our county 10 years from now. It'll be such an economic engine that our biggest problem will be figuring out how to spend the money.
Wow, unbelievable. You heard it here. I'm in the presence of County Commissioner Craig Pierce. Primaries again. Early voting starts.
Early voting starts on the 20th of April and runs through the 4th of May. Then that's on a Friday. Shuts down Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Opens back up on Tuesday the 8th, and that's the day we vote.
That's the day we vote. Guys, make sure you get out and vote. It's very important. You've got that right. Also, I will be sitting down. I've just, spoke briefly about it with the sheriff as well to talk about, gun control, guns in school, teachers with firearms, and things of that nature. Actually, there's a statute, I think it's 162, where he can actually authorize personnel to secure the school. Also, I'll be doing a Facebook Live with Coach Steele, Coach Robert Steele. I call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So stay tuned for that. Once again, equity changes the rules. Dr. Yolanda Meade Bird, I appreciate it. And Commissioner, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yep.